Alright guys, I'm going to be doing, at least attempting to do, a swap out of my B&T APC9 factory trigger with this Elftmann Match Pro Trigger that I just got in the mail here. So basically it's supposedly pretty straightforward as far as the replacement goes. This does have the threaded bushings on it, and I guess we'll have to see if the pins that, these two pins that come in here will be compatible with this or not. I haven't actually tried this out, so first time attempting this, and we'll have to see how it goes. But before I get to that, I'm going to just quickly kind of do a quick comparison of the trigger pull on this so that I can have a side-by-side once I have the new trigger hopefully installed here. So first, obviously, I'll just do a quick safety check there. Again, trying to see if you guys can see in there. Obviously, try to, again, nothing in the chamber there. Okay, so I'll do, this is in view here. I'll go ahead and do, so you can see, take up there, hit a wall, break, reset. Pretty muddy, honestly, and then break there again. So there's that. I'll go ahead and get now to the breakdown portion. I'm sure you guys have probably seen plenty of videos on breakdown process of the APC9, so I won't get into all of that right now. But essentially, I'm going to go ahead and punch this out first, and then basically roll this up, and then it'll just pop right out. I'm going to go ahead and close that here so that I can hopefully get the other pin out here too. There we go. So both of those are out now. And now I have my upper, which I do not need, so I'll set that aside over here. And I have my lower. So I'm going to go ahead and lower the trigger there. And then first step, at least from the other videos that I've seen, and again, this is not meant to be fully comprehensive. I'm sure there's going to be much better videos on how to actually do this whole process. I'm just couldn't find one that was kind of contiguous, showing both the takedown and disassembly of the lower, and then the installation of the Elftmann trigger. So anyway, I thought that this would be helpful to maybe do it all together. But anyway, so the first step here is going to be to punch out these two pins here. Try one smaller punch so maybe that's work better. There we go. So finally got that to go through. Pop that out. See that pin there, and then this out. So the trigger wants to kind of pop out once you do that. So that just pops out like that. And then I'll do the same thing with this one. I think this pin is a little bit easier to push out. And again, go ahead and pull that out. So this pin is different than the front one. This one's actually got a little indentation in the middle, whereas this pin, which goes in this, so go in from the left to the right, actually has this little detent area there. So they are different lengths too. I can appreciate that, but good to know for future reference. So once I have that, this is going to also come out, disconnector, and then a little spring in here that also will come out. So I'll go ahead and remove that. Okay, now next is going to be removal of the fire pin, or sorry, the safety selector. So from other videos I've seen, basically what I can do is I can use this here to essentially press that little, there's a little detent that's supposedly is able to get to, although that is so small, I honestly don't think that's gonna work. Not sure if this will be, I'll try a paper clip, see if that works. There goes something important. I didn't think that was going to come off that easy. Okay, so there's a little plunger that apparently just flew off that I'll have to find. That'll be fun. Oh, actually the plunger's right here. So I have the plunger. Now I just have to find the spring that I heard land somewhere around there. So I will get to look for that as well. That'll be super fun. Okay, so now that I have that, the next step here is going to be to remove the fire pin selector. And again, I think that that's done essentially by putting this in kind of the neutral middle position here and then pushing, so I'm using my finger to push this way. Well, I guess whatever this remainder of the old trigger assembly, I had to actually push this down because it was kind of catching on there. And I'm going to keep my thumb here, or my finger here, because something, I believe that these bushings underneath here also want to go flying sometimes, and so you have to carefully pull this out so that that doesn't go flying. So you can see one of them, looks like one of them already came off here. If you can see that. Let's see. So this here wanted to come off. Actually, they both came off. But anyway, this portion should also come out. So this is the actual trigger assembly, or the trigger itself, I should say. I should be able to just lift this out. Apparently easier said than done. There we go. Okay, so now the trigger is able to come out too. Okay, so there's that. And now I have the lower. It's actually pretty dirty. Gives me a chance to actually clean that out before I assemble the next part. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off for now, and then I'll get to the trigger assembly and installation here in a second. All right, guys, back out of here. So I got my Elftmann trigger here, the Match Pro Trigger. I had purchased the drop-in trigger from Idaho Tactical, which my understanding was this is supposed to have the threadless bushings to allow the pins that come out of the APC9 to go in, but as you can see, those are definitely not going to be going in there. So I guess what I'm going to try to do is actually do the installation with the screws that actually come with it, and we'll see if that actually works. So the first step, at least from the manual, I do have this, I printed this off from Elftmann. You know, basically says, you know, essentially I want to go ahead and push the set screws all the way out of the bottom of the trigger housing here, so that I can actually apply a little bit of Loctite. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that first. I'll put the Loctite on, and then I will back those back out so they're flush with the bottom of the trigger housing, wipe off any excess, and then go from there. So again, first thing I'll do here, I'm just gonna take a little bit of Loctite. Put that right on this plate here, and then I'm gonna take one of my other little Allen well, actually I'm gonna take the main Allen screw, the 2mm one, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and put this trigger out a little bit more, actually. If I can. There we go. Boy, that's a little more challenging. All right, so I have this all the way forward so I actually can access the set screws here. I'll push those out just a little bit more. All right, so that should be good. And then again, like I said, I'll take this here, and I'm just gonna take a tiny little bit of lactate and just put that right on the screws there. As everyone else says, a little bit goes a long way, so try not to put too much on. All right, and then try to wipe off some of that here. Actually, I'll wipe it off of my screw as well so that it doesn't set on there. And then we'll basically retract these so that they're flush with the trigger. Sorry, the trigger housing, I should say. So that's pretty good. I can get it out there. That spring is holding on to it. All right, and the same thing. Just retract this one enough to again, that spring just wants to really hold on to that there. All right, I think that's probably good. And I'll take my little cleaning patch here, just wipe off any other excess there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pull this, or at least partially retract that here so that I can drop this in. Now, for the polymer lowers, you do have to use this plate because this is what the set screws are gonna actually adhere against, and obviously polymer lower isn't gonna love having something drilled into it. So you take this plate and then it's going to basically drop it in so that the wider portion is facing forward. So obviously you can see that now it seems to line up there just fine. And then from here, I'll go ahead and actually just essentially take my trigger and drop it in there. And then from there I should be able to line up these screws. That's the goal anyway. Let's see how this actually goes. All right, get my screws out, and then basically it looks like they have a lock washer and then a regular washer here. So take that. See if I can get that to actually seat. Grasp this. Enough. There we go. All right, so back that up just a little bit more. Same thing with this one here. Alright, let's see if maybe that allows that to line up a little bit better. Kind of looks like it is already, so hopefully that does the trick. So apparently that was the trick here. So when you're doing that, make sure you get those set screws on the actual housing to not be too tight, because if they're too tight or they're too low, then it's not going to allow the trigger housing to actually seat properly. It's going to cause other problems. Alright, so there's that. I don't really want to tighten these down too far. I just want to get them secure enough. Oops. Alright, so the next trick is going to be to try to get the safety selector housing back in. Alright, so for that, I think, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do this on camera or not, but I'm going to try, make sure these things are actually depressed, and then I'm going to essentially, so I think this has to be in the quarter cock position to actually be able to get these in, is my understanding, but basically try to push that down enough to be able to get this started. That's the idea anyway. Alright, we have to see if I can push this down while rocking this back and forth. There we go. Okay, so I got part of it in. Again, let's see if I can use this tool here. Take the other side in. Alright, so now got that. So that's audible click, so that's good. So I got that going, and then from here I'm going to go ahead and release the hammer. I'm going to tighten these down. You can see I was able to, just with that little pick, I was able to move those little screws to the side, and they actually seem to be staying, which is nice. Again, I'm going to tighten that down pretty tight. And then I'll take my little hook here, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab that and basically lift those little springs back up, because that's supposed to actually provide a little counter tension and maybe help keep those screws from walking back out over time. So you can see I was able to put those back over the set screws. Okay, and then lastly, try to reinstall the safety selector. So I'll take my little spring here, set that in, and then I'll put this little detent in here, plunger detent, whatever that is, and then take my safety selector, and then leave. Basically what I'm going to do is take this and then essentially push this down while I slide this over. That's the idea anyway. Hopefully that actually works. All right, I don't think I had that flush though before. Try that again here. Clicks. Got function there. Good. And then I'll lastly go ahead and take my Allen key, and I'm just going to go ahead and tighten these down. So I didn't actually tighten those all the way. Oops. All right, so that's pretty tight. All right, so lastly, I'm just going to make sure that the trigger seems to actually function properly. So it seems to be smooth. Seems to be good. Safety selector's working, and this also does function in both when it's both cocked and uncocked. So that's nice. I wasn't sure if that was actually going to work, but that seems to work too. All right, and then lastly, we'll go ahead and just reassemble here. Go ahead and put the first pin in here. All right, so there's that. Go ahead and rack it. Seems to be functioning. Check the reset here. Nice and short. So you can see, take up there, hit a wall. Break. Reset's pretty muddy, honestly, and then break there again. So there's also, I didn't talk about that, but you definitely can adjust the weight of the trigger pull. It's actually on top of the Elftmann trigger. You can actually adjust that too. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to try it out and see how it feels with the current trigger. I think that's decent. I mean, it's definitely a little heavy, but overall, I think that's pretty much it. So with that concludes the installation of the Elftmann Match Pro Trigger into my APC9 with the Polymer Lower. Again, I think there's definitely better videos out there. They're more comprehensive and go over all of the specifics on some of the nuances of things you need to look out for, things flying everywhere. But as far as just kind of a contiguous video, hopefully this is helpful. As always, welcome any questions or comments you guys may have. Of note, I'm not a gunsmith, and so please obviously read your owner's manual before you're doing any type of installation, as the owner's manual may have other recommendations of things to change or do differently from what I showed you on this video. But appreciate you guys watching.